Da-da-da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, let me clean my desk. Sometimes I just don't think of things, right? I'm not about the details. I'm truly not about the details. I'm about, right, the content, the product. My little bit of cover up for feeling bad that I've got all my stuff flying all over the place, but I am grateful. We're moving into the weekend, you guys, and for a lot of people, their week is over. For me, we're going into the busy part of the job that puts the roof over my head in the moment, and I, on the norm, give all of it to that job, to that amazing opportunity that really truly got me back on my feet. Got it to the point where I'm still here. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave that for you to guys to judge. But if you've never popped into one of my lives before, I just let you know we picked 54. We're picking 54 powerful words, and I'm going to make a deck of cards out of that. Not a tarot deck, and no disrespect, right? Because I follow some really amazing content creators who are so bang on in their craft and in that awesome amount of mentorship that they offer out there. And so, but for me, right, it's the mindset, it's that idea that, you don't have to be a religious person. I'm not a religious person. I have that respect, and I believe, right, that all religions, because they were thought of, what you think about is realized, and right, somebody realized, and gave that time and attention to take note of some amazing mentorship and amazing advice out there. And that's how we're going to move forward, is in that exchange of information, that exchange of how we do things, right? Just because I do things this way, it doesn't mean it's the easiest way. It doesn't mean it's the fastest way. It doesn't mean it's the most economical way, but it's the way I know, right? And unless we're bumping into people who are more expert in that, right, we're going to just go about doing things the same way. Okay, you guys, we're touching on the subject of believe this week. Today's the last day we're going to go into this amazing word, right? But I thought I'd go back because yesterday I'm talking about little Iranian girls and little Catholic girls, and right, the message was in my head, but how I was formulating it, I'm not sure whether it would have hit the bullseye, right, to be able to hit that. So I thought we'd come back into, right, number 10. This believe is number 40 and number 10 because we're doing the word twice. But going back to number 10 on the card, right? Beliefs dictate, right, our behaviors and affect our movement. And I went into a spiel yesterday, like I said, about the little Catholic girl and the little Iranian friends, right? And I thought today that I'd put it in a different perspective, maybe a perspective that just the everyday person might be able to understand. And also the everyday, because I talk to all parts of us, right? That maybe that little bit of insight in how to maybe get along with ourselves a little bit better, right? To be part of the team rather than always butting our heads with ourselves. I mean, how are we supposed to solve these big grievances and disagreements and difference of opinions, right? Different religious ideas and beliefs. How are we supposed to be able to get on track? And we're not about to change people's beliefs, but to better get along with other people's beliefs. And how are we supposed to get to that if we can't even get along with ourselves, right? If we can't even believe that we can make our existence a little bit better, right? And being the evidence for myself, I see it for myself. But because I'm just coming here for half an hour, or, right? However, I'm coming in live, there isn't a time set in the message. But, it's those missed lessons in our every day. I show up here every day, and I'm as genuine as I possibly can, right? Warts and all, misunderstandings and all. But I'm doing this my way, the way that I'm feeling pulled, right? And where I feel in all parts of me, right? Because, right, Cindy, this is Cindy's life, and this Cindy is very creative, but also I understand there are parts of me that are just as creative, and I have to be in that alliance with myself that I can be able to be even better at what I do, even better in my showing up. Okay. Wish some of us were a little bit better at being able to stay at the main trunk of the tree, but sometimes it's going down these side branches. It's these little ideas, these little things that we've just thought of our whole life, and we would have thought something different, but there was nothing else offered, so you just kind of, okay, well, that's what it means, right? And then something comes across your path and you have an opportunity to go, oh my goodness, is that what it was? Right? Is this how I can move past this? Is this what I've been beating myself up about? Can I do a little bit better by myself? Can I be a little bit more of a team player with myself? Okay, so let's get back to the main branch. Believe, number 10 card. Beliefs dictate our behaviors and affect our movement. So, I wanted to tell you a story, and lots of you have heard this story about my own father. My movement is kind of a movement forward, a carry on from my father's journey, his experience, his adventure, right? Because I understand that in each stage of evolution, right? From one generation to a next. It's our hopes, it's our optimistic idea that we can do a little bit better by our parents. That's what they want for us, right? You always hear that sayings that parents always want to do a little bit better by their children than the way they were brought up. And that is so much a truth. But in that idea, right, to let everybody decide for themselves in that next generation to be able to experiment and play and have conversations and be able to pick up their own ideas about things, because we know that we are influenced right from the very start, right? And lots of us carry on with that influence without even having opportunity to think for themselves. Hello, Melvin. How are your eyes doing, dear? How are you? Oh, here we are. Yeah, he was talking about his eyes already. My good cheer is that both my eyes have been repaired and now I can see wonderfully. So happy for me. I'm so happy for you too, Melvin. Right? But that was your decision to go through that, right? That was your decision to say, okay, well, I'm going to struggle a little bit now. I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable now, so that, right, maybe I can do a little bit better by myself, right, later. And now, right, his cataracts are taken care of and he's seeing wonderfully. So that's a good way to finally get into this number 10. Our beliefs dictate our behaviors and affect our movement. So, in talking about my father, he was making his own movement. He never discussed it. He was a very private man, but, you know, being the spectator that I was in my hypervigilance. I paid attention to absolutely everything. And my father was my safety zone, right? It was a lot less painless when my father was around. And my father wasn't around a lot. He was a commercial fisherman who took off for months. He worked cab in between seasons, and he worked night shifts. So, he slept all day and worked all night. My dad was trying to stuff the most amazing life he possibly can into his own life while still making movement. But he partnered with himself, right? My dad wasn't perfect. He was a compulsive gambler, right? He made big mistakes. And, we all make mistakes. Evolution is that idea that we can make mistakes and we're just going to get better by it, make that movement. And what kind of honoring would I give my father if, even if he didn't think that I was going to follow suit? He had no idea. Honest to God, in reflecting back on my father had no idea, right? But there were things that he did recognize. He recognized my light and how I shined on his life. He loved my love 100%. But that love was very codependent. And I had to take lots of lessons when I first woke up to some of these ideas in codependency, because very easily, if you give me the time of day, I'm your best friend, I'm your mother, I'm your wife, I'm your lover, right? I'm your slave. Being that highly sensitive and that empath, that was the person that I was, right? So I had to take lots of lessons in being, and I was always independent, but very cautious in the steps that I made, not to offend other people, not to step outside the boundaries, not to get too far away, to make sure that I follow somebody else's rules, right? My father also was in those lessons. Very early in his life, he got diagnosed with congenital heart disease. His doctor let him know he didn't have very much time to live. He wasn't even 20 years old. He never thought he was going to have a family. He never thought he was going to have babies. Yet my father lived to be 47 years old. But every day he woke up, he believed that today could be the day that, right, would be his last day. He lived every single day absorbing and sucking up, right? I talk about that milkshake with the straw and how you get into all those corners and get out all the goodies and all that slurping, noisy stuff, right? That's what my father was taking out of life. He was a great example to me in his love for Mother Nature, his love for life. And yes, my dad was not perfect and he had his coping mechanism, as we all have our coping mechanisms. And it did cause problems in his movement because it kept him in a negative state. Right? When my father passed away at 47, he was on his own journey, right? He was a follower in the mindset, in the stoicism, right? He did the very best that he could. And one of the people that I love so much, I love him so much because he reminds me we have to be proud of the effort, if not the results. Because my father still passed away in low income housing, in still suffering because he had angina and was having daily strokes and heart attacks, and he was like that for a very, very long time. But before that, right, before the doctor shut him down and put him on his pension and said, you can't do this anymore, it's crazy. My dad was like, the deadliest catch out in the middle of the ocean, hauling in nets. He loved it. He loved being commercial fisherman. It was his passion, and you were not going to take that away from him because it showed him how alive he actually was, right? I'm not a big fan of being out in the ocean, right? Like my father was. But I have my own connection to with Mother Nature 100%, right? In his lifetime, he still, right, didn't make his achievements and in his goals. Yet there were moments, right, being a compulsive gambler where he did hit the big ones. You heard me tell the story about when me and him took off to Reno for a couple of days and it ended up being a few weeks. And that was the most amazing experience I'd ever had with my father. But it was also, right, in the after effects, a very impactful and eye-opening experience for me also, and we'll tell that story somewheres down the road. But I wanted to stress, right, that my father's belief that this could be the very last day, every day from the time he was 20 until he passed away, this could be the last day. That's his first thought. What you think about is realized. And yet he moved, and you might think that, oh, but he died, he was still in low income housing, he was still gambling. Yes, but that effort he put in, right, that person that he was in, that person he was for me in being that example, made it possible so that I could be here right now. And I truly believe that. Right? I truly believe that. This is closing of the book on that word, belief, right? It won't be in the, there won't be a third belief card, but there'll definitely be two belief cards in that deck, right? You got to be proud of your effort, but at the same time, understand it is that movement. My dad made great strides in his movement, great strides, right? And I'm pretty optimistic that he did not let that go to waste, right? And I am grateful for my understandings, because if that's true, I'm hoping that in his next life he'll get to be 114 years, if not more, because it's about doing a little bit better than the last time, right? And I'm the one aiming for 114, so he's got to do better than that. Okay, you guys, have a great weekend. I've got a bus to catch, I've got a weekend to dive into. We'll be back on Monday with a new word, our 41st word. At the same time, if you want to come in tomorrow night, Sunday, it is Chatters Live. It's my main live show, even though it's just once a week, but it's very casual. And I have amazing moderators and crews there, Melvin being one of them. Great news today, Melvin. Great news. Thank you for sharing that. That's so amazing. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you Monday.